All right. Well, thank you for having us. Let me just get my screen share up here and all right. I'm just going to go over briefly about our organization, and then we can get into how we use Tableau. The Wisconsin Policy Forum was created in 2018 from a merger of the Madison-based Wisconsin Taxpayers Alliance and the Milwaukee-based Public Policy Forum. The Public Policy Forum was created in 1913, and back then was just basically looking at city of Milwaukee finances. We branched out and focused mainly on southeastern Wisconsin issues. The Taxpayers Alliance was created in 1932, and it looked at more at a state level policy and data. Now the Wisconsin Policy Forum is a statewide, nonpartisan, independent public research organization. We have offices in Milwaukee and Madison. Actually, Ari is based in Chicago now due to the pandemic, so we have one employee in Chicago. But we try to put out data on local governments, school districts, and the state of Wisconsin. Our research is looking to drive effective data-driven solutions on important policy issues. We are a membership organization. We are made up of hundreds of corporations, governments, school districts, nonprofits, and individuals. If any of you are interested in joining the Wisconsin Policy Forum, you can find information on our website, wispolicyforum.org. We put out a number of research reports throughout the year. Our main areas of expertise are government and finance, education, economic development, and social services. Here's an example of some of the reports we do. We looked at higher ed. We've looked at school district teachers and staff, workforce development, transit system. We also put out a number of what we call budget briefs. We look at the largest governments in the state of Wisconsin, including the city of Milwaukee, Milwaukee County, Milwaukee Public Schools, Madison School District, and a few years, this is now our third state of Wisconsin budget brief. These reports are meant to go in depth and look at the budgets that are proposed by the executives. Let me just give you a little background about myself, and then I'll let Ari introduce himself. I started with the Wisconsin Policy Forum back in 2003. I was named the Data and Technology Director in 2014. I started using Tableau Public back in 2013, just kind of dabbled in it. And then around 2015 or so, we started incorporating some Tableau Public stories and visuals into our website. And a few years after that, we really started using Tableau for our website to put out more effective visuals for our reports. Ari, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. It's so nice to be with you today. So my name is Ari Brown. I'm a senior research associate with the Forum, and I've been with the Forum for almost 4 years now. I started in May of 2019. I attended both my undergraduate and graduate careers at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. As Jeff mentioned, I live in Chicago now, but I started with the Forum in our Madison office before going remote. I really started using Tableau around 2016 or 2017. in just a couple of undergraduate classes. I was really interested so I was in the journalism program in undergrad, and I was interested in data journalism. And I was able to take a couple of classes that at least touched on Tableau. But where I really started using Tableau prior to the forum was a summer internship that I had in the summer of 2018 with the Madison Metropolitan School District. Some of you may recognize the name Bo McCready. I feel like he's a fairly prolific name in the Tableau space, especially he was in Madison before he relocated to Austin. But he was my supervisor at the Madison Metropolitan School District, and really, I think, kickstarted my interest in Tableau. I obviously do quite a bit of Tableau work for the forum, but I've also done some Tableau work outside of the forum just to dabble with, and learned what I know from him. So I felt that was worthy of a little shout out.
All right. So we have, we call them the Wisconsin Taxpayer and a Focus publication. They're short research briefs that are meant to be timely and look at one policy issue or, regarding the state or local governments. And these reports were from the Wisconsin Taxpayers Alliance, which we brought over to the Wisconsin Policy Forum. When they did them before the merger, they were printed documents that were mailed to all of our members. In 2018, we decided to take these pieces and put them and embed them on our website. And we wanted to find a way to, have graphics. Each of the reports has, 3 to 5, maybe 7 images, whether it be a map or a chart. So we wanted to put these on our website and have a little interactivity with them. So we started using Tableau Public to embed the graphics onto our website. Ari, you can jump in and add on to this.
Yeah. So, these are just a couple of examples, and we'll have much more in the coming slides as to kind of what our visuals tend to look like. One of the things that I think you'll notice is very early on, we took advantage of the fact that you can embed kind of color schemes into the preferences in your Tableau. And we, incorporated the colors from our style guide. So that's something that we try to be very consistent on. You'll see the kind of blue and silver color scheme throughout basically everything we do. That said, I think when it comes to consistency across all of our reports, for context, we put out usually about a report a week, ranging from our very short focus pieces that are only about 3 to 4 pages to some of our full reports that Jeff showed you some of the covers of that can be anywhere up to 50 or 60 pages. And, in each of those pieces, we'll have at least a couple of visuals, everything made in Tableau. So we're creating quite a bit of this visual content. So, in order to, because it's just a few of us at the forum who are creating our Tableau pieces, we, thought out a style that's definitely much more minimalist. You'll notice that we, don't use a lot of axis lines. We take advantage of the Tableau preset fonts and just try to create a lot of consistency. So you'll see, in both of these visuals, there's a figure title with a subtitle underneath it. We have our source lines, and then whatever visual that we're putting out there. And this kind of style is something that I think you'll see very consistently across our static visuals. And then we also like to take advantage of tooltips and make sure that, as Jeff said, as we moved away from our former versions that were all printed out, we try to create visuals that are much more interactive now. So if you go to our website and look at some of these embedded visuals, you'll notice that there's a lot of interactivity. Sometimes we'll include filters or buttons on our embedded visuals, just to try to make it more user friendly and interesting to look at. So I just wanted to include a couple of different items here that I started at the forum in, as I mentioned, May of 2019, and I think we've really kind of evolved in terms of how we use Tableau over that time period. We definitely now have a larger percentage of our staff that is familiar with Tableau. And I think Jeff and I have kind of been the ones that have been leading that effort. But over the course of time, we've sought to do more interesting things. And as Tableau has evolved, we've tried to take advantage of some of the new features that are included on the platform. So the image on the left here is something that we put together in I believe May, where we looked at data from an online organization called Cubic that tracks, I believe it was cell phone data, to kind of look at movement of people and look at how movement in Wisconsin based on cell phone data changed in the first couple of weeks of the pandemic. I wanted to experiment with the small multiples concept and just put together something that was both relevant to what we do as the policy forum, but was also interesting to look at. And I think this was a really fun experiment for us and something that we haven't done a lot of since. Something that we're always looking to find creative ways to convey data that's relevant to people. On the top right, you'll see one of the GIFs that we put together. We love to experiment in, I believe it was in 2021, one of the updates to Tableau included an animation feature. That's something that we've really wanted to incorporate more of. We think it's fun and visually interesting to look at. So this was on a piece about cigarette taxes. And we found that there was a pretty direct correlation between when cigarette taxes were raised very significantly in Wisconsin and the drop in consumption of cigarettes. So this was one that I think it was very clear to us to show how those two pieces have been intertwined. Kind of a fun one to make. And then is just a good example of, we're big map people because our research profile is entirely focused on Wisconsin. You will see a lot of maps of Wisconsin, and especially county maps of Wisconsin. This is from a piece that we published recently that looked at hybrid and electric vehicles and how they have kind of proliferated very quickly in Wisconsin over the course of time, and just trying to link that all back to items in the state budget or some of the broader conversations happening even at the national level when it comes to hybrid and electric vehicles. So I will let Jeff chime in here in just a second, but one of the things that I think we wanted to just do a little quick demo for you today, and something that we've been really excited about as we've kind of developed these over the last couple of years, is our data tools. So this concept was something that did starting in kind of 2018, 2019. The two that we're going to show for you today are items that, as Jeff mentioned, we used to be a very print heavy organization. I used to be in our Madison office. We used to be headquartered in a building that had been a church prior to our working there. There were 3 or 4 of us that were there full time. And within the church, there was a big print room where there was all of the old kind of print equipment. We almost ran kind of like a newspaper might, but we really wanted to start going digital when the two branches merged. So we had these publications. One of them was called Municipal Facts, and the other one was called School Facts. That used to be books. They were over 100 pages, and they were just tables upon tables upon tables of municipal finance information and school information that were very useful. And we had a very solid user base for those. We sent out hundreds of copies around the state every year. But it was obviously becoming quite expensive to do that and just re-update that every year and have to format it as a very small staff of just 10 to 12 people. It's difficult to put out a publication like that. So we wanted to move those online. So one of the first things I was tasked with when I joined the forum was converting our municipal facts book into an online data tool. So using my familiarity with Tableau, I set out to create a dashboarding tool. So what kind of evolved out of both of those, and Jeff did the same with our school facts book that became our school data tool. These present, all of the same information that those books had, but in a much more interesting and user-friendly way that is all contained on one web page. where individuals can go, and we'll do a full demo of these in just a minute. But the thought here was to really just take the content of the book, and instead of having hundreds of pages of tables, make some interesting visuals that people want to go look at and convey the same information in a much more user-friendly way. So Jeff, feel free to add on here.
Yeah, in the school data tool, we take data directly from the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction, and they have their own online data tool. They call it WiseDash, but it doesn't include some finance data, which we always included in our school facts book. It also, we added in a key findings section, which was kind of a story where it goes through each key finding. And it just tried to get it as a more user-friendly and easy way to access all the data from those state websites.
Real quick before we change over the slide here, I'll also mention that we, I think experienced a lot of positive feedback on these two data tools, to the point where we actually converted a couple of our other projects or piloted new projects to create some more data tools. So two more that you'll see on our website that we try to update every year: our property values and taxes data tool, as well as our Metro Milwaukee innovation data tool. That one, I think, was a really exciting project for us, because it was an evolution of individuals seeing some of these other data tools that we're able to put together and say, we want something specific to Metro Milwaukee. We want to be focused on economic development and innovation, and that's something that we've really tried to buff up over the last couple of years. So I think we can move on now. So I will talk a little bit about the municipal data tool process. So when I got to the forum, the municipal facts book was created out of an extremely large Excel file that had all of these different print specifications and print. Everything needed to be, sized in a very exact way, and it just was not user-friendly at all. So this was a process where we looked at 4 different large data sets that are updated every single year, that are housed by the Wisconsin Department of Revenue, and just kind of manipulated that data and cleaned it and made it more presentable, in terms of metrics that local officials actually are interested in. But the first couple of years of this, I was really doing it all in Excel, which was fine, but it took some time. It took usually about a week to 2 weeks or so. One of the things that the pandemic afforded me was the opportunity to learn a little bit more about R. For those that are familiar with it, for those that aren't, R is a statistical coding software. I, as a former journalism major and public policy student, I was not doing a ton of coding during my collegiate experience, but for someone working with data, R can be extremely helpful, and I think it integrates really well with Tableau. So we converted the process of cleaning and getting our final Excel file together entirely over the course of 2020 and 2021, and we have then been able to use that one R file to read in, clean, and spit out all of the data in a format that is very usable in Tableau. One of the big differences, I think Jeff will probably make mention, that our entire tool is based off of one sheet in one Excel file. So I think it really just shows the extent to which you can build a really interesting dashboard based off of just one sheet in an Excel file. So that's a process that we've been kind of refining and trying to speed up a little bit each year. And one of the things that we were thankful for is that we really saved so much time doing this, that we're able to make the key findings section of the municipal data tool something that our summer interns usually work on. And that's a process that we, allows them to get a little bit more familiar with Tableau as they kind of create. So that has been a process that has been really helpful and interesting for us.
And I could talk a little bit about the process of the school data tool. So the school data tool is mainly based on the data files that are put out each year by the Department of Public Instruction that uncover things like enrollment, attendance, discipline. We look at the testing data, including the ACT, AP. We have finance data in there. And really, there are so many data files that we each year in each topic is a data file. So we've taken those data files directly from the Department of Public Instruction and just put those CSV files into Tableau and created our dashboards that way. There got to be so many files that I broke off each topic into its own Tableau workbook, because when we use Tableau Public to then embed it on our website. And when all of the files were in one place and on Tableau Public, the navigating through the data tool was very slow, and it had to load each time for each topic. So this way, it's actually broken into each section of the data tool is a separate web page on our website, which then you can navigate through. But it looks and acts the same way as our municipal data tool. It's just built actually in a completely different way than the data tool. And from the raw data, I have done all of the calculations in Tableau desktop before it is uploaded to Tableau Public as the final product. Let me stop sharing this, and Ari can run through a demo of the municipal data tool that is actually.
And Jeff, while you're loading that up, I'm looking at the queue to quickly answer a couple of questions in here. So someone asked, how does the Wisconsin Policy Forum get money to run? Do you charge access for any of our material? So we're a membership-based organization. So we have a paid membership that both individuals and organizations can be a part of that offers, our content in general is free, but there are benefits to membership in terms of events and things that we will offer for members that are not available to just publicly on our website. We also take on a lot of contract research. So local governments or individuals who are seeking to know more about a specific policy topic or answer a specific question will come to us, and we will do paid contract research with them. In terms of, there are two questions that I think kind of speak to why we do things a certain way in Tableau. So in terms of why we went with a single sheet as opposed to joins, or at least why I did that for the municipal data tool, I have learned a lot about Tableau over time. Back in 2019, when I did the municipal data tool, the easiest way for me to do it, not having, just kind of starting to pick up Tableau skills, was just to have everything in one sheet. Had I been doing it now, I might have transitioned that over, but the process has worked really well for us. And the R file is something that we, are really fortunate to have. And then in terms of, is there a reason we don't use Tableau Prep to clean our data? I think one aspect of that is just, it's something that as researchers, there are aspects to Tableau we would love to learn more about over time. Even just the first couple minutes of this when we were not presenting, I'm like really excited about the future opportunities to go to more Tableau user groups to learn more about things like Tableau Prep. The other answer to that, though, is that R is a software that is really helpful in conducting a lot of. We are currently using it for what I think is our biggest data project since my time joining the forum, where we're looking at teacher turnover in Wisconsin over the last kind of decade and a half, that involves, hundreds of thousands of lines. And R is a software that is really helpful for that. So having learned R, just in terms of some of our data cleaning for things that are outside of Tableau, we also were able to figure out how to use it for things that are helpful to Tableau. And so I think that's why that's kind of our preferred mechanism right now. That said, we're not we would love in the future to learn more about Tableau prep and all of the other kind of items there. And Jeff, yeah, I think we're ready to move into the, I'd love to do a little demo of the municipal data tool. And then after that, Jeff will do a demo of the school data tool. So this is the municipal data tool. It is housed on our website. This is something that we update every year. This tends to come out in either late July or early August, just depending on what else we have on our plate. Each one of these are buttons that will take you to a specific page. So Jeff, if we want to just dip into the about the tool page really quickly, we like to be, and sorry, the text is a little bit small, so things might be hard to read, but all of the visuals you'll be able to see very clearly. We are really careful methodologically when it comes to some of our bigger projects. So we like to be very clear about where all of our data comes from. So that is housed in a specific page on our dashboard for anyone that goes and uses it. I will note that as we get inquiries about the municipal data tool over time, we learn more and more about who uses it. And what we found is that it is used by a lot of local financial officials, village administrators, city financial leaders, those kind of municipal finance folks are really keyed into what we're doing. So we try to be very clear about where we're getting the information because we're all looking at the same data. We're just kind of repackaging it in a way that is hopefully more user-friendly. So Jeff, if you want to go back to the homepage, you'll notice throughout the tool that we have that little home button on every page. This is a dashboard that is created just by essentially linking buttons. It is one big Tableau file that has somewhere between like 60 and 70 different individual dashboards that all link to each other in specific ways. That was something that we built once. Back in 2019, it was a couple month long project, but by the end of it, we've basically been able to take the same dashboard and recreate it each year and just add our new data in. So Jeff, if you want to go to the key findings tab. So this is something that I think now is the thing that we spend the most time on because our script is already built and all of our visuals are already built. We just have to add in the new data each year. But the key findings is something that we like to build each year based on that new update of each of those 4 files that we receive from the Department of Revenue. What new information is in there? What new trends are we seeing? So if Jeff, if you want to just click through, you'll see that we included these arrows that just allow you to click through like a Tableau story. And each includes, some visual that helps to tell a story. So in this, in this visual here, we're looking at fund balances and how those have risen for cities and villages over the course of the pandemic, along with some text that is explanatory. You'll notice with this tool, one of the things that we try to do is keep our visuals pretty simple, but our text a little bit longer. So you can get the story really quickly just from looking at the visual, or if you want some more in-depth explanation, you can read and kind of get the broader story. And Jeff, if you want to. So at the end of our key findings, we'll allow our users to click on any one of our interactive pages. There used to be, I think, 4 of these, and we've added a 5th and 6th over time. A question about how often we update our data. So this is data that comes from the Wisconsin Department of Revenue. They are files, there are 4 files that are updated each year at different points throughout the year, but we kind of take June or July as our cutoff point and take whatever they have updated within that last year and download it, run it through our script, and then have our Excel file that it spits out. So every year we update this. Our municipal data tool that will be coming out this July or August is going to be our 5th annual municipal data tool. So Jeff, why don't we go to the municipal spending page? So each of our dashboards, this probably looks fairly recognizable to folks who look at dashboards frequently. In this, we have 3 visuals that are built in, 2 of which are just numbers that will update, one of which is a bar chart. It's pretty simple, and we got a lot of explanation along the left side of the page. One of the things that we do have in both this data tool and all of our others, if you want to go up to the filter and maybe change, so right now it's defaulting to the city of Madison, but we all 100 cities and villages in Wisconsin. So if you click on any one of these other ones, so this is Kenosha, all of the visual update, and you'll get the same information for the city of Kenosha. Jeff, if you want to click into the police button, these are filters that are built out on all 6 of the same dashboards. So, it changes the filter for all of them. So it's really, hopefully easy and user-friendly. And if you want to go back to the homepage, I just want to show what one more of these looks like. So why don't we do the income and population button. So a little bit more on this page, but you're getting a lot of important information: gross income, individual income taxes, population, and then the changes and rank statewide out of those 600 when it comes to income per tax return. So just another example of what's kind of included in this tool. So Jeff, now if you want to maybe click in the comparison by county, I think one of the things that we were really excited about when we built this tool initially was giving those local government officials the opportunity to look at peer comparisons. It can be helpful to know where your individual city or village is at in terms of some of this financial information. It's also really helpful to compare where you're at to other peers. So we have 2 main ways of doing that in this tool. The first is by county. So this allows you to compare 10 of our key metrics across every city and village within a county. And everything here has a tooltip where you can scroll over and get the precise information that is being displayed. This can be helpful just, to stack up, especially when you have, somewhere like Milwaukee and Milwaukee County. How does it compare to all its neighbors? A lot of the metrics that we include in this tool are per capita, which we think is a more kind of responsible way to compare some of these financial metrics. And then Jeff, if you want to go back to the click to return to the main button, one that we were really excited about was sometimes the peers, your peers as a city or village are not within your specific county. For example, it can be helpful if you're one of the 10 largest cities in Wisconsin to compare yourself to the other 9 of the 10 largest cities. So Jeff, if you click in that custom comparison, this is something that, it's the same kind of thing. It's the same metrics, but allows you to click for a list of what cities and villages you want to compare. Jeff, if you go to the dropdown, so the ones that we have pre-selected are the 10 largest. If you want to deselect Appleton and maybe select any one of the other ones, just so we can see what that looks like. So it'll go down to 9 for a second, and then it'll go back up. One of the other, we were looking for ways to make this, very user-friendly, and we didn't want to start to get to the point with these custom comparisons where you had too many different cities and villages on the same page. So Jeff, if you go into the filter dropdown and just add more than 10, so you will get a little warning that tells you, please select no more than 10 municipalities. This is something that, we were trying to make this just very, very recognizable, very user-friendly. So I remember spending like a couple of days just trying to figure out how to make this exact functionality happen. And we were able to find it. And that's something that I'm really proud of that we built into this tool, just to make it so we were trying to make a dashboard system that was unbreakable. We didn't want something that was very easily broken by users. We have a lot of, especially older users who aren't always familiar with the technology that we're using. So we wanted something that was extremely user-friendly, especially for those individuals that aren't working with data all the time. And that was just one of the little features of the municipal data tool that we built in very quickly early on. So I think that's about all I have. Feel free to add to the Q&A. I'm going to let Jeff demonstrate the school data tool now, and I will type out some answers to some Q&A questions that people have about the municipal data tool.
All right, let me share the school data tool. All right. I mean, as you can see, the school data tool is pretty much laid out the same as the municipal data tool. Again, we have a key findings section, and then we go over the different topics, including school demographics, district finances, and that. I would add that our data tools, we get sponsors for them. There are sponsors as well for the municipal data tool, but we list the sponsors on the bottom of the page. So that is another way that we get funded is our research has sponsors that we go after. We also have events that we put on each year. We get sponsors for those events as well. But I could start running through the data tool. Again, we have a key findings section, just like the, hold on, let it refresh again. And each year when we put out the school data tool, we look for what are the key trends going on in the education world in Wisconsin, and put together some graphs. These are based on statewide, but you can select different districts to compare. Again, with the filter, just like the data tool, we put a little description at the bottom saying what's going on with enrollment in this case. The forward exam is another piece of data that we look for each year. The forward exam is taken by students in grades 3 through 8 throughout Wisconsin. So we have a filter for, you can look at the different grade levels. And then you can switch to districts that you want to look at. Again, due to the pandemic, there was no test administered in 2019. So we had to, we have no data for that year. For most of the data sets, we put in 10 years of data. Actually, for the forward exam, it started in 2015-16. So this is the only data that is available for this test. Again, AP exam, trends in the AP exam, statewide by race. Graduation trends, attendance trends, and then back to the other topics that we look at. I'll go into school enrollment first. Once it loads. So each page of the data tool is laid out very similar. These are, again, dashboards that are all linked together, put together the same way that we put together the municipal data tool. This is looking at all students statewide. You can select different districts. Cedarburg, here's their enrollment. And then we put a breakdown by race. This one, you can switch to race. Gives you the percent in those districts. Again, economic status. We put this student grouping filters on every page, basically in this data tool, so that users, and a lot of the users for the school data tool are, like the municipal data tool, are school district officials, school board members, finance directors, district administrators. But we also do have realtors who use this data tool. If they have people who are looking to buy a home, they can look at different school districts and find their characteristics for those districts. The finance section is laid out slightly different, but it, again, pretty much the same. We break it out between revenues and expenditures. We added a state average line on each of these so that you can compare your district to the state. But again, same navigation through the different aspects of school finance. Go to expenditures. And then in the same way that the municipal data tool compares municipalities, we have a comparison in this one by different school districts. And we start with the 10 largest districts in the state. And again, you can select any districts you want to compare. Once I take that one away, so, you know, the end product for both of these looks very similar. We also, since there are so many different terms, and we put in a glossary of terms in this, which is actually just, you know, a bunch of text so that we can, people, if you really want to know about our data and the definitions of them, it's all there. But that is basically a rundown of the school data tool. I can stop sharing and we can see if there are any other questions.
Great, thank you for that demo. That was really interesting. I think you got to all the questions. Ari was busy in the chat and the Q&A. So thanks for that. I have just one. Do you have a sense, any usage metrics, the amount of volume that you get people interested in your tools?
Yeah, actually, the municipal data tool and the school data tool are our two most popular pages on our website. Our website traffic alone is roughly, it's about 35 to 40,000 page views a quarter. And these can get anywhere to, you know, if we look at the Tableau public stats also, because these are housed on Tableau public, so then it'll show you the views that way too. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's, you know, 6,000 to 7,000 views on those.
Very cool. Yeah, that's great. I guess follow-up question, which maybe you could put in the chat, is just how do you get the word out that you have these tools and that these are available? I mean, repeat customers make sense, but how do you get new municipality leaders to know that this is available?
So I can speak a little bit to that for the municipal data tool. So I think for really the biggest one is word of mouth. We, you know, definitely have, thankfully, because a lot of our members are, and the individuals that we interact with very frequently are a lot of, you know, municipal financial officials. We had folks who started using the municipal data tool in some of its first iterations in 2019 and 2020 and enjoyed it and were able to kind of spread the word that way. You know, we'll work fairly closely with the League of Wisconsin Municipalities. That's kind of the overarching municipal group in the state. You know, we'll work with the sponsors of the tool to kind of get the word out that way. I believe there are 2 different realtor groups that sponsor the municipal data tool every year. So that's another vehicle for us. But really just, you know, word of mouth, as well as, you know, trying to, I know every year when we post the municipal data tool, I will try to get the word out on Twitter. That's kind of our main social media platform that we as the forum use, and just try to, you know, get some of its new usability. But I think part of it is just limitations in terms of who's going to use a tool like that. It's definitely very helpful for local financial officials, but if you're not a local financial official, you might find, you know, you're not going to get a ton out of the data just because it isn't super relevant. So I think it's really just finding how to hit those correct audiences.
Yeah, and I can just add to that real quickly. With all of our research that we do have a listserv that we email out, a link to our research. We also try to put in related research. We work closely with the news. We put out press releases picked up by as many local and statewide publications as we can. We do radio interviews, we do TV interviews. So we try to get out there as much as we can to promote all of our research, actually.
I noticed a really good question in the chat or in the Q&A that I want to respond to because I think it's really good. And it's about the work that the forum does, not specific to data visualization, but just kind of like our role. And the question is, what are the implications of being nonpartisan, especially as you work on data /visualization /analyses that have high correlations to various measures of partisanship? I think that's a really good question. And I think that, the first level to that is we try to pursue research that we find is just nonpartisan as a topic, or is not necessarily in the conversation as something that is super polarizing. You'll notice that the various different, our kind of main research areas, government finance, education, and economic development, all have elements to them that I think can be very polarizing. But I think we try to look at questions that in general don't, necessarily enter that super polarizing space very quickly. And then when, in terms of creating visuals, I think we're, seeking to try to tell stories that are extremely factual and to inject any of our own, partisanship or bias. What are the numbers telling us about whatever topic? So I'll take just one piece that I worked on recently, and we kind of mentioned it in the PowerPoint, but this piece on cigarette taxes, I think if you look at, if you think about kind of like excise taxes or even just taxation in general as a topic, it can be fairly polarizing. But, with that, we noticed one interesting data point, which is that Wisconsin had been decreasing very consistently over time. And we tried to create a research piece there that spoke to, why is that happening, and create visuals that showed, here are some elements that might explain why that's happening. So I think this is a question that we as researchers at the forum deal with every single day. And we are always trying to create research that is both informative and interesting to people and does not enter that sort of partisan space. And then also just a quick answer to a question here. The fact that the tools and data are sponsored, how do you balance what sponsors want with what the data are? That's another really mentioned that there are realtors groups that sponsor the municipal data tool. I think the answer there is we are interested in having sponsors for our tools that will support the work that we want to do, not tell us what it is that they want. Mm-hmm. So once we have those sponsorships secured, those are sponsorships that our membership and development folks are going out and saying, here's what we produce. We would love if you sponsored it. But once we start, the process of creating the municipal data tool, we are not, fielding, asks from those sponsors. We are creating the product that we want to create. And we're really lucky to have sponsors that support the work that we're doing.
And I'll add to that a little bit that even with our contract research, that is, if we have, Milwaukee County contracts us to look at a program that they have, we are very specific in the way our contract is written up that says whatever the data shows is what the data is going to show. And we are going to put it out, not only give the final product to you, but we are going to put it on our website for anyone who wants to read it can read it, so that, if the person who contracted us says, this is actually what they said. No, here it is. It's on the website. It's for general consumption. And it's very specific in all of our contracts that we put out.
And because of that, we're very selective about take on. And, we'll definitely turn down contracts that we don't think are going to fit within that kind of broader nonpartisan lens.
Yeah, that's really fascinating that y'all have to balance that. It sounds like you have a lot of structure in place to be able to handle those types of issues. Yeah. Thank you so much for your presentation. That was really interesting. As a Wisconsin resident, I learned some things and look forward to exploring your tool a bit more. And now we're going to turn things over to...
us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Now we're going to turn things over to Dan. Dan Bolenson is a senior manager at Baker Tilly, which is an accounting and consulting firm that has a big office in Madison, so another local. And he's here to talk about how they're building extensions to do more with their and their clients' dashboards using Python. So take it away, Dan.
Hello, everyone. First, I'm really excited to be here, so thank you. We have been building Tableau extensions in Python for a little while, and we had the opportunity to present this at the Trailblazer conference in March, which is a Salesforce conference. So that's where this is coming from. I don't mean to imply any kind of endorsement, but just reusing that deck from TDX. So first off, I'd be curious to see in the chat how many people have heard of Tableau extensions, and separately how many people are using Python. But I'll start with telling a little bit of background about what extensions are. So Tableau describes the extensions API as a way of doing more in Tableau without leaving Tableau. So what these allow you to do is to basically wire up different mechanisms that let you read data from the Tableau workbook and interact with other systems, things like that. So from our perspective, the best dashboards give people insight, but the best dashboards with extensions really let people take action. And so I wanted to give a little bit of a background about how we first got started with this. So I attended Tableau Conference 2019, which was just pretty shortly afterwards this JavaScript API got launched. And this was something that we were really, really excited about. We'd been looking for a way to do more with extension, or to do more with our Tableau dashboards, and this seemed like the solution. So we dove right in. I attended a couple of the trainings and things like that at that conference to try to come up to speed, and failed. I couldn't do it. I couldn't figure it out. And what was really going on here is my background is as an analyst. I've got a background with some Python, but I'm not a web developer. I don't know JavaScript. I don't know how to spin up a web server, and I don't have that like foundation that one would need to really get started with extensions. So we took it away. We tried a couple of things. We continued to fail, and then eventually we started to combine it with another solution that we've been working with. There's a group called Anvil that's a pure Python web development framework. And so when we started to work with them, we had our first success. We were able to spin up a Python, an Anvil application, pure Python app that we could then start to work with on extensions. And so we started working on that, and we had a few more failures on the way. Really what we were finding there is that API is broad. There's just a lot there that can be done. There's a huge amount of scope there, and frankly, it was a lot more than we needed. And so where we landed there was to create a mechanism where we could interact with just specific aspects of the API in a bit of a simpler way. And I'll give examples of that later on as we dive into a demo. And so that's where we're at today with Anvil. We've got this framework where we can build Tableau extensions just in Python pretty quickly. And so that's what really I want to share with you today. And so to start with, I want to take everyone's favorite dashboard, the Superstore dashboard. So for those of you who aren't familiar, this is a dashboard that comes packaged with Tableau and expresses the sales of an organization across North America. And we basically want to do more with this. So in this case, we're going to try to figure out a way that we can let our users have a conversation. And so we want to be able to basically add a chat feature to this dashboard so that people can maybe have a conversation about why is it that Oregon is down and Washington's looking really good. And so to do that, we're going to use AnvilX. So I'll pull that up. This is the Anvil framework. You can see here that there's a couple of different template apps that you could start with. So if you click on one of these, that's going to launch. This is actually what we're going to build today. But this is a great way to just get started. You can basically have a starting point that does something functional, and you can tailor that to your specific use case. We'll just get started from a blank app. And so we can create a blank Tableau extension here. And this is going to then add a new application that's a starting point for this extension. And if I click here, I see that I've got a way to configure some settings. I've got a startup, and I've got a home page. And this is Python. So everything that we're going to look at is Python. I hope that's not too, I feel pretty confident that most people would be able to figure this out. If you've got a background in R in particular, it's going to look a little different, but pretty familiar. And so the home page here is what we are going to start with. And what Anvil offers is basically a way to create an interface for our extension using just drag and drop. So if I pull this out here, I can see that I can add labels. It comes with a couple standard labels. I'm going to delete those. And let's just drag a conversation extension title here. And we're now going to want to pull this into our Tableau workbook. And the way we do that is that if we click Test in Tableau, we can download a manifest file. This is a T-Rex file that basically tells our Tableau workbook that this web application that we've just spun up here is a safe web application, and it's the one that we're going to use for our extension. Let's see if we can get this going. Of course, we're going to run into technical issues because it's a live demo.
There's a question in the Q&A while we're waiting on this. Is Anvil a free tool, or do you need a paid subscription for that one?
Yeah, it's free for Tableau Desktop. So if you're building applications for yourself, then that's free. And if you're deploying it in Tableau Server, it comes with 10 viewer licenses that come free. And if you want more than that, then it's a paid product. Similarly, if you're using the Anvil SaaS solution, which is what we're demoing here, then that's on their infrastructure, and that's under that free model with up to 10 viewers. If you, for us, for example, we do a lot of sensitive stuff with our clients, and so we have a Anvil Enterprise on our private cloud that basically that we pay for to enable that, so that we're not, it's just a requirement from us from a security perspective that we host that stuff ourselves. All right, I think we're back up here. And so this is the dashboard. I want to embed that in here. And I'm going to take this extension object and drag it into my workbook. So it's going to pop up here, and I can access local extensions, which is where I'm going to point it to that extension file that I just downloaded. And so that's going to add this extension object here. And that's going to be that web app that we just spun up with in Anvil. And so we see here that we've got our conversation extension, which is loaded. It's probably going to seem pretty small to you guys. But what we've done so far is we've deployed a web application, and it's now connected to our workbook. And if I come back into here to see what's actually going on, you'll notice that this is the design pane where I have this ability to basically craft a UI. And there's also a code screen. And so the code screen is really a bunch of Python code that's being driven and is going to drive the behavior of this extension. So the first thing that we'll see is that we're getting a dashboard from the get dashboard function. And if I look at that dashboard, I'm going to see all of the methods and attributes that I can work with to do what I need to do in my extension. So I can get things like get a worksheet by name. I can get my parameters if I need to set or read parameters. If I need to register or refresh data sources, there's quite a lot of behavior that's made available to us through this, and we'll see that from the autocomplete. And in terms of what comes already with from when I created this blank extension, we'll see that we've already registered a couple of event handlers. And that's kind of a core idea in this extension framework, is that the extension is going to do something when a user takes action. So in this case, I see that I've already registered an event handler when a selection is changed. And it's going to call this function whenever that event takes place, and it's going to pass me an event object. So I won't go too deep down this rabbit hole, but there's a bunch of documentation on what's going on here. I can go into the API reference, for example, and see my event classes, which are exactly what is going to be delivered to that event function when an event gets called. And we can also see that when I can see the autocomplete, what I can do with that event object. And in this case, I see that there's actually already a print statement here. And so let's just go ahead and select Oregon. Nothing is going to happen in our UI because we haven't told it to. But if we come into our output here, we should see a little bit. I have to reload this. We see that we made a selection, and we're going to go ahead and we're actually going to see the thing that we selected. The specific state that I selected was in the United States. It was Nevada, and I get this ag profit ratio. So this is really the key building block for what we want to do. We want to have a conversation about Nevada. So to do that, I'm actually going to come back to my design pane, and I'm going to add a text field where somebody can make a comment. I'm going to give them a button to save that comment. And I want to have what's called a data grid, which is basically a table that I can show any comments that have already been made. So the next thing we need to talk about is how this comment's going to get persisted. So in this case, we can use Anvil's data tables, which is a Postgres database that is presented to us in a pretty simple way. And we can come in here and add a comments table where we're going to actually record the data that someone coming in and adding. So we'll add a comment field for the thing that someone actually said. We want to associate that with a specific state. And we want to keep track of when that comment was made. And I'll make that searchable from our client code, which don't really need to talk about. So that then is a table that we can start to save our comments in. And so here, we're going to come back here, and we're going to wire that table up to this data grid. Let's say the state. And that was keyed on the state. So I'm just relating it to the name that we added in this table. And we'll say our comment on and when that comment was made. On. And so we're getting quite close here. We've got a way for somebody to write in a comment, and now we just need to allow them to save it and respond and show the comments when someone makes a selection. So first, we're going to say that when somebody clicks this button, we're going to save that comment. So I'll double click on that button, and it's going to create a new event handler, which, similar to those events, it's just a Python function. So whenever someone clicks that button, a Python function is going to get called. And in this case, we want to capture the comment from our text area, which we added. And we'll capture the text in that text area. And we're going to want to take our app tables. We see our comments table that we just created. And we'll add a row that saves that comment. Now, we actually also want to save the state. And so we have to record the state that we made a selection in our selection event handler. And I'm going to copy paste the field name here so I can save that information. So in my selection changed, I'll say state. It's going to be equal to my event, get selected marks. I'll take the first thing. So if I selected multiple states, I'm just going to take the first one, and I'll capture the state and province. Then when I add the row, I'm also going to take my state. And I won't bother recording the timestamp right now. Finally, we want to be able to write a function that shows all comments. And in this case, we're going to do basically the same thing. We'll take a repeating panel, which is where that data grid has. We'll set the items to our app tables.comments. And we're going to search for the state that we just selected. So let's see how we did. We can come back here, and we can reload this. We see the UI that I just crafted. I'll click on Oregon and maybe say, Oregon is nice. And I'll try to save that comment. Done something wrong. So it says I can't write in table comments from client code. So I have to go and change my permissions here. So you'll notice that when I get an error, I can click on this, and it's going to direct me to the exact line where I made a mistake. So that's pretty handy from a debugging perspective, both by being able to print what's going on and by being able to get directly to whatever failed when I make a mistake. It makes for a pretty rapid development experience. So let's try again. I'm going to reload this. Let's try California. Oh, done something else wrong. Call comments. Sorry. I had a typo there. And I didn't call that, but I did. If I go into my table, I'm going to see that comment has been created. So I now need to call this shows all comments when a comment is created and also when a selection is made. Sorry, it's pretty narrow here. And when I come back here, I'll reload this. And so when I now click on Oregon, I'm going to see all of the comments that anyone has made about that state, Oregon. So I moved really quickly there. I know this one is definitely like a fire hose style presentation, but I wanted to show that we can go from a concept to having built an extension that adds value to our users, that gives people a way to do more with their dashboards in what's pretty short amount of time, and using some pretty basic ideas. If I recap that, we're registering an event handler. So when someone makes a selection, we're calling a Python function. We are showing all the comments when that takes place. And when we created a UI. And when someone clicks on this save comment button, we're saving their comment so that everybody else who's using this dashboard is now able to see and participate in that conversation. So we can do a lot more. This is obviously a bit of a trivial example, but we did want to just kind of demonstrate it as a capabilities. You know, we've started to record data in a data table so we can connect Tableau to that. And really, a lot of the use cases that we've been doing is around like helping people explain variance, or we've got a healthcare client that needs to be able to keep track of exceptions when salespeople are out of bounds in certain ways. So we have a dashboard where they can basically record that they followed up when transactions do need need follow up. We've got an extension that a Salesforce customer can make updates from their opportunities right from their Tableau dashboard. There's just a lot of capabilities that got unlocked with this set. And we think you need to know a bit of Python, which it's definitely new, but it's not crazy. So that's it. I really encourage people to reach out if they want to dive in a little bit further. We'd be happy to do a guided build and get your hands dirty with the keyboard. My contact is here. The documentation's at T-Rex Jacket. And I'd really love to hear from you all if you've got any questions.
Thanks, Dan.
So I'll just quickly...
sorry, I was saying, in the interest of
Sure,
time,
I'll
if you wouldn't mind
answer-
doing those by chat. Thank you. Thank you. That was amazing how quickly you got that built and rolled with the errors. And actually, that was really useful to see, too, how quickly, like you said, that it can be diagnosed and resolved. So, yeah, we're just down to our last couple of minutes here. So Brandy and I want to share a couple of tips for you about Tableau Conference. Dan, if I could get you to stop sharing your screen, please. I don't think I can take it from you. Thank you much. Okay, so quick, also fire hosey, some tips for those of you attending conference in person and also those of you who are staying put. So conference is coming up in just a couple of weeks, and we wanted to give you some tips. So if you haven't yet booked your lodging in Las Vegas, I just wanted to let you know that Mandalay Bay, I think, is currently the only, I'm sorry, I meant to say the Tableau blocks that they had at Mandalay Bay and a couple other hotels are now out. And so you'll be on your own to find lodging. You do not need to stay at Mandalay Bay. There are other options in the vicinity, and some of them are considerably less expensive than Mandalay Bay. And there are ways of getting back and forth. There's a tram. There are elevated walkways. I think Tableau will probably have a shuttle. So just feel free to look around for a better deal. Of course, if you want to stay at Mandalay Bay, that's a great hotel, but you can join MGM Rewards. They offer discounts. There's other things that you can do to get a lower price. Also wanted to mention that there are often activities that are outside of the scheduled conference thing. So for example, Data Plus Women tends to do a happy hour the night before. So you might also want to consider those things if you haven't made your travel plans yet, or if you're just looking for something to do while you're there. And then I'll have Brandy jump in here, and she has a few tips for you as well.
Yeah. So I will not be attending Tableau conference in person this year, but I have been to, at least 5. I honestly can't even remember how many, but I have some tips if you are going in person. I like to cover these for anybody who is kind of going for the first time. The first is to dress casual. Let's talk about what to wear. Be comfy. Most people are going to be in jeans and a t-shirt. So, you know, I don't know, again, the people I talk to, if you're maybe used to some conferences where you dress up a little bit more, you know, business casual, this is not like that. People will mostly be in jeans. So dress casually. I always bring a light jacket because they have the AC going in these places. So that's just like my tip. And then wear comfortable shoes. You will be walking a lot. There's a lot of people that attend these things. There's lots of sessions. There's lots of things to do. So be comfortable. The next thing that I've always learned, you know, on my first time out of the gate, I brought my laptop with me to every session. I had it in my backpack. I never got it out. Unless you're doing the hands-on stuff. Mostly I just found that I took notes in a notebook. That was like much better for me. And then I always bring a water bottle because I find that it's kind of sometimes hard to find water, or when you do, they give you tiny little cups. And so I always have a water bottle with me.
More environmentally friendly too.
but-
Yay.
Yeah, well, that too, that as well, 100%. And then, you know, so when you are kind of thinking about going, check out the sessions. I know that there's like almost 200 different sessions going on this year. Definitely take a look at them. I'm happy to provide my recommendations. There are just different people that, you know, you become familiar with in the Tableau community who you know are going to put on a fantastic session. Those are the sessions that I would definitely recommend. So I'm happy to maybe post something like that on Twitter or LinkedIn, you know, later this week, but definitely check out the sessions, find out what works for you. There's a lot of different ways that you can filter on those sessions to find something that, you know, if you're more intermediate or more advanced or beginner, like you can filter on that. If you're interested in Tableau Cloud, like they have filters, you can filter on Tableau products and, you know, try to narrow in to figure out what sessions you want to go to. If you are in a session that is not really your jam, it's not really what you thought it was, don't feel bad leaving. Get up and leave. You're there to learn things. You could either use that time to attend another session that maybe is more valuable to you, or you can run into people and network and, you know, have a brain date or hit up a, you know, like hit up the data village. So if you're not finding value in something, definitely just, you know, check out other things. There's lots to do. And then, yeah, make sure you have time for breaks. The last thing is obviously make sure to attend all the keynotes. That first keynote, you know, there's so much insight there into what Tableau is working on that we're going to see, you know, in the next few years. I always get really inspired by that keynote. The Iron Viz is really cool. Just seeing, like, having that energy around you in person is pretty awesome. There's usually photo booths on site, usually more than one. That's where these, like, you know, images and these signs are coming from. Really, really cool. Take care, you know, just check out all the things like the data village as well. So if you're like me and you're not going in person, but you want to attend virtually, there are tips here as well. So I always make sure to block my calendar and pretend like I'm actually going to be away from the office. So I block my calendar. I tell my team I'm not going to be available. I obviously make sure to watch the keynotes. Those are always like the big ones. And I even will plug my laptop into my TV to put it on the big screen and, again, kind of almost get outside of my home office, my comfort zone. Taking notes, again, I always make sure I try to like summarize them and share them with other people who might find them valuable. And then the last item is to, again, visit the photo booth. There's a virtual photo booth. And then I always try to follow the hashtag Data23 hashtag on Twitter. A lot of people will be using that. And I kind of can either live vicariously or at least contribute to the fun on Twitter.
Excellent. Great tips, Brandy. Thank you. I just have 3 super quick things. A couple of things I changed for this year that you may not be aware of. If you are attending in person, you cannot reserve a seat in a session ahead of time. It's first come, first seated, so try to get there early. And you do need to bring your own laptop if you are doing one of those hands-on sessions. So you can notice that in the session registration. It'll really have it highlighted in blue like this. The other thing that they're recommending is do go ahead and favorite the sessions you're most interested in attending. They're going to use that to make decisions about how big of a room and space to have. So that way, if we all want to go to the same thing, they have a little heads up about that to make that a large auditorium. And then finally, I noticed that the ones that they're going to be broadcasting for those of you who are staying here, at least for some of them, they are marking those as available on Salesforce Plus. So you'll know if you're not going to Vegas, which of the sessions you will definitely be able to catch here. So I know that was super fast and we are at time. I apologize for that. We do want to get to our prize drawings. And just a super quick post here, maybe grab a screenshot. We'll also be sending out a recap after the meeting. We do have some dates known for some upcoming events. Definitely want to plug Milwaukee's event happening next month. Madison TUG is our 10-year anniversary or birthday. So we're having a big bash here in Madison. Would love to see you all there if you're local. And we also have the next 2 dates picked out for this meeting, Wisconsin TUG. So we'll send more about that soon. But let's get to the giveaways. So I know you all are really excited about that. Brandy has been crunching some numbers behind the scenes for folks who asked questions and were here. And I have our bevy winner. So you want me to do that one first, Brandy, or are you ready to go?
Yeah, why don't you do the bevy winner, and I'm picking the winners from those who asked questions right now.
Perfect. So all the people who registered for bevy, and there were over 100 of you, thank you so much for signing up on this new platform. We really appreciate it. Randomly selected one, and it is Anna Koob. So Anna, if you are still here and want to DM me your email address, unfortunately, I can't see your email address. They mask those for privacy reasons. So I'll have a hard time tracking you down otherwise. If you're here, DM me. If you're not, we'll try to find you. So congratulations to Anna, and thanks to everybody who registered.
Yeah. So that's the person who registered for bevy. We're picking somebody else who registered for this particular event, right? Or
Correct.
Are we picking? Okay. I don't have that information in front of me. What I have is the winner from the person who asked questions today, and that is Mahesh Gujar. Sorry if I butchered your name, but you asked some really phenomenal questions today. So congrats on winning one of our prizes. So again, yes, like Jen said, please DM me or DM Jen with your email address, and we will be in contact with you to get you your prize. So if you could, I think you can just find my name, and there's like 3 dots that you can like click and DM me.
All right. Sorry, I'm trying to quickly get to who checked in for this.
I know, and I'm sorry, Jen, I did not coordinate that very well with you. I apologize.
We will get through it. Yeah, I'm not seeing. We're all still not familiar with this platform. So sorry, we may have to follow up on this one. I just know people we already lost half of our audience. So
yeah, well, we'll post something. How about this? We can oh, I'm sorry, Jen. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just going to say we can send out an email, a follow-up email to everybody with the recording, because this was recorded. We'll announce the winners, and we'll give you a chance to reach out to us.
Yes. Although having said that, I just did pull a list. So if this person happens to be here, Brandy, I'm going to have you give me a number.
Yes.
I think this is just the checked-ins. No, that's everybody. Goodness gracious. Sorry, folks. We are more disorganized than we would like to be here. It said checked in, and yet can I find the checked in column? I cannot. All right, we'll follow up. This is not going well. So we're going to end on a high note. Well, thank you all for coming.
Bevy is brand new. Bevy is brand new for us. We're going to get better at it, but this was awesome, Jen. Thank you so much for leading us through this discussion today. This was super great.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully you all learned something interesting, and feel free to check out Dan's info he posted, and also Ari and Jeff gave us lots of great info about some local data. Mm-hmm. Thank you to all of you for presenting, and thanks for everybody who attended our meeting. Hopefully we'll see you back at all of our future meetings.
Yeah.
Take care, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks.